Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Streamed live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommie Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good morning, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, the United States, and the world. My name is Eric Ellis. I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation, and I'm joined by my good friend and brother,
Tommie Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Tommie. How are you?
Hey, I'm real well. Eric, I am coming to you, joining the show this morning from my mobile office, right? We've stepped it up. Hey, that's what happens when the show must go on. I'm up here in Mason, Ohio, at an amusement park called Kings Island. For those who are not familiar or not from Ohio, Kings Island was established in 1972. It's a theme park. It's a lot of fun. And my baseball team is having our kind of an annual outing here. But it's good to be with you, and it's great to have our guest today.
Excellent, man. And have a great time out there. You and your team deserve that. We have a wonderful guest with us this morning to start off the first segment of the show, City Councilman Greg Landsman. Greg, how are you?
I'm good, and I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. We're so glad to have you. One of the first things we do is just kind of talk about how our week was. So, Greg, why don't we start with you, man? How was your week?
Oh, man, that's a tough question. I thought it was a good week. I don't love the rain. I know it's important,
right?
but
right.
I like the sunshine better, and so it's nice that it's sunny out. But it was a rainy week here in Cincinnati, and at City Hall, we're putting together our budget. We're really finalizing our budget.
I heard that.
And typically that is a pretty intense, controversial set of decisions. But because of the American Recovery Act and the funding that's going to cities and states, the decisions, these are local governments that have been hit hard over the last 10 to 20 years in terms of pretty significant cuts. And so every year is a difficult set of decisions. However, this year, because of the American Recovery Plan, the decisions are less difficult. We're able to fund the things that we need to. And so hopefully we'll be able to put together a budget that isn't everything we want it to be, but it isn't as challenging with the kind of cuts that we've seen in the past. It really hurt people. And whether it's the folks that work for the city or the folks that really depend on our services. So it was a good week in the sense that we got good news because of the funding from the American Recovery Act is really going to help make things a lot easier for folks.
Good. And we're going to talk to you more about that, but also more about who you are, because a number of people in our community may recognize you as Cincinnati City Councilman. But really, they don't know all of who you are and the things that are important to you. So we're going to come back to that. Tommie, how was your week, man?
Yeah, it's been a good week again, Eric and Greg. Two things came up this week and two projects. We started doing our work with the Hamilton County and the City of Cincinnati's Summer Scholars Enrichment Program. Okay. And so Cincinnati Public Schools, they allow their students to go through some professional development training. This is coming off of the heels of the morning summer school activities. And so we are delivering professional development in the tune of emotional intelligence, problem solving, social media management, communication, and the like. So we're excited to be working with Hughes STEM High School and Western Hills High School, working with them every day for 22 days. That's just the month of June, from around 1 o'clock to 2:30. Again, every day. Ages, I think we're looking at freshmen all the way to seniors. Okay. So we're really excited about that. And then the other thing is that we're excited that we will be launching the Illuminate Leadership Conference. That's going to be held on July the 18th through the 23rd at Northern Kentucky University. It is a 6-day residential program for 7th and 8th graders.
Awesome.
For 7th and 8th graders. And so it's a great opportunity
That's all right.
Great opportunity for us to come together and really work through some things with our young people. But that's how the week has been. Eric, I'll turn it over to you.
I'll tell you, it's been a good week for me too. We had a chance to do some work with Procter & Gamble, the hair care organization, research and development. And we started that off, Greg, and the power was out. So here we come to a session, man. This is my first session in person since the pandemic. Because Greg, my wife has been telling me for the last decade, you got to go digital. And I told her I don't even believe in it. I said, if these companies won't bring people together, and then when COVID-19 hit, I mean, if your business is all about sort of bringing people together, now we're socially and physically distancing people, you're almost out of business. So Tommie and I both pivoted our businesses to 100% digital. And then our business sort of went through the roof. So I got comfortable here in this office, and it's like, go somewhere. Like, what? I got to go somewhere, So we had a chance to do a session with Procter. The power was out. I said, well, we all could go back home and just sort of get on our computers. But we went to their office across the street, and that went well. The other thing is that we're launching our new asynchronous training, a word that I didn't even know a couple years ago, which is sort of computer-based, self-paced training. We'll have 10 to 12 different courses that we provide for people online. And sometimes you just got to get with the times. I'm not a huge fan of online training, but I am a fan of good training. And so that's what we are doing, is providing micro learnings for people. And so I'm just so excited about what's happening, not only in our business, but in my family, with my children. They're all doing music. Tommie, my son's out in LA, and looks like he may have a huge break where one of the big producers that produced Thriller and Bad and Celine Dion and a number of others may be working with him because they believe in him and think that he has some real talent. So it's just always exciting, man, to kind of see what our children are doing. Greg, we also have a community of people that join us Saturday morning, believe it or not. Tommie and I can't believe it, but here we are going on our 4th year. And we have people like Dr. Reggie Crane, who's with us, Terry Cooley, and others. And we're always so delighted to invite our community. Greg, why don't you start by just kind of telling people who you are, sort of how you grew up, and why diversity is so important to you, because this is a space that you've been working in for some time.
Yeah, thanks. So, I was a teacher, and my parents were teachers. So I come from a family of educators and have been doing child education advocacy work most of my career, and helped to lead an effort several years ago called the Preschool Promise, to provide 2 years of quality preschool for 3 and 4 year olds in the city of Cincinnati, 3 and 4 year olds whose parents couldn't otherwise afford high quality preschool or having a hard time finding good quality preschool that they could afford. And that passed in 2016, and it's now up and running. It's helped thousands of families, children get quality preschool, help to improve the quality at these centers throughout the city. School readiness rates have gone up big time as a result. This is really important because the vast majority of brain development happens in the first couple of years of a child's life. And if they get great early learning experiences before they get to kindergarten, they're much more likely to do well. And that's one of the big disparities in our country is what some kids get before they're 5 and go to kindergarten, and what other kids get or don't get. And to me, that's one of the big injustices that we all face, right? But that our children have to deal with. And so I then ran for city council and was elected the year following, and have really stayed focused on the children and families piece. Helped to lead an effort to pass comprehensive eviction prevention reform. That's a big issue that a lot of families face, is housing stability, and disproportionately Black and brown families are being evicted, and most of it, almost always, it's a payment issue, because our wages are so low for most working families, and when you have an emergency, whether it's a medical emergency or your car breaks down, all of a sudden paying rent becomes an issue for a month or two, and that'll get you evicted. And so we put in some safeguards to help protect tenants, to help clean up problem properties, which drive evictions. And then we created an eviction prevention fund to help people get through those emergencies, so that they can stay in their homes, which helps everyone, and creates that stability that makes a big difference for parents, but also for children. We passed the largest increase in youth jobs ever last year. So that is something I'm really proud of and excited about. Big development reform. So every time we do investments in the city, we get more folks from those neighborhoods getting those jobs, local businesses, Black-owned businesses in those neighborhoods accessing those opportunities. And so it's not just something that happens to a neighborhood, but it's something that's happening with and for the neighborhood. And so that's really my passion, is how you transform a community in a way where children, every one of them, and families, all of them, are doing really well. And I think that means that everyone else is doing great. But when our children are struggling, it's usually a sign that a lot of people are struggling. And so, I grew up, again, in a household, middle class, parents were teachers, and there was a real commitment to issues of justice and fairness. That was these were big issues for my family, my parents, and it's something that has really driven me, no matter what I've been doing, is trying to figure out, okay, well, where is the system or this particular thing broken, because it's clearly, it's not working for some people. So I'm glad it's working for some. That's awesome. That's great. My interest has always been, okay, if it's not going to be working for everyone, so find those who aren't doing well and figure out how to make that work for them. And that's where diversity comes in, because if you have really diverse folks making decisions, you're going to get much better outcomes. And so if the people who have benefited from something are the only ones making the decisions, nothing's going to change. They're going to, they're not bad people. It's just that they're going to keep doing what they do because they're good. But if you start to bring in people who, represent a greater level of diversity, racially, intellectually, just ideologically, whatever it is, you're going to start to see things get better for everyone, not just for the people who have been there from the beginning.
Tommie, you want to jump in there? I know you guys have done some work together too around young people, but want to make sure we get you in case we lose you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm with you there, and I would like to encourage our community, Greg, as Eric mentioned. Our community is sprinkled throughout the U.S. They are advocates of what we're talking about, not only with youth, but with adults as well. And one thing that we love about our community is that they speak their truth.
Yeah.
They do bring a lot of value. They ask critical questions. So again, before I ask my question, I would like to invite our community to kind of ask your question. And so one of my questions is, when we take a look at youth in particular, our children in the greater Cincinnati area, or Cincinnati in particular, the issue of mental health keeps coming up. Can you talk a little bit about how you and your administration, legislation, et cetera, is really addressing the issue of youth mental wellness?
Yeah, it's such an important conversation that hopefully intensifies as we come out of this pandemic, because I think everyone, most people, I suspect, struggled through what was a very traumatic year with a lot of uncertainty. It was really scary for a lot of people, a lot of kids, and the routines just changed so dramatically, so quickly. And for young people, that's harsh. That's really harsh for all of us. But if all of a sudden you're not in school, where you're not, all that structure just goes away. All that positive reinforcement from teachers goes away. All that positive reinforcement from coaches and from friends goes away, and we're isolated. And all of us, I think, need to figure out how we take care of ourselves and get the help we need, and be okay talking about it, and asking each other if they're okay, and making sure they're getting the help that they need. But the young people, for sure. And so we have, I think, two big opportunities. One is supporting the school district as they get kids back in school, and they're it's summer, but they're still kids in school, and making sure that they have the mental health resources that their kids need, but that there's a culture within the school district that in each school where that says, look, we're not going to wait and until you get in trouble before you get this wonderful set of resources. We're going to reach out to you proactively and just say, why don't you come talk to somebody? We just want to see how you're doing, and that's where I think, we have to help support the schools to get to that place where they see kids and they understand that everyone's probably, carrying something, and, it would be nice to talk to somebody and see where, before, and not have it be just about discipline. And that's a big shift, I think, that we got to help the schools do. And I think the city can and should be providing more and more resources, helping with that cultural shift. And then our own health centers. In Cincinnati, we're blessed. We've got health centers in a bunch of neighborhoods, and it is one of the great assets that Cincinnati has. And we're hiring additional mental health professionals to coming out of this pandemic, and it will, and then they will hire, folks that have these degrees. And because of this new digital reality, some people do want to sit down and talk to somebody face to face, but some people feel much more comfortable doing it online. And that gives us a huge opportunity to provide services, mental health supports to folks here, leveraging professionals from all over. And I think that's something that can, really help, mental health professionals have a big, list of people they're helping and folks that need it. So it's a big issue. And I'm glad you brought it up, because I think it starts with people saying, look, jobs, wages, childcare. Yeah, all of these things are going to be really important. Mental health, hugely important. I mean, we see what's happening all over the country. We're showing that we're a little unhealthy, or a lot unhealthy coming out of this pandemic. We got the vaccine, but people need some serious support. And the beginning, I think, or we start by talking about it and saying, look, let's make this a big issue. Let's make sure we're taking care of each other. We're talking about it. We're asking people, you getting the help you need, and we're making sure they get it.
Greg, let me ask you this. So Cincinnati is known as a conservative city.
Yeah.
Articles have been written about how polite Cincinnati is. I know that I'm not born in Cincinnati, but I've grown up in Cincinnati. And ever since I was a child, I always heard the stories of I-75 being run right through the West End.
Yeah.
And sort of dividing up that community. And now we see FC Cincinnati has come in and sort of built right there in the West End and displaced a lot of families. I'm not one that wants to just simply protect blight. I understand that, but not all of that was blight. Those were people's homes, people's neighborhoods. And it looks like, gentrification has sort of accelerated. How do we try to ensure that there is, in fact, fairness and equity. What I hear, honestly, is a lot of little programs and sound bites and things that people can say, but inequity seems to be growing and growing. What do we do to sort of encourage greater equity within the city of Cincinnati? As I think about downtown business district and how many or what percentage of businesses downtown are owned by Black and brown people, even women, there's a challenge. Is there a way for us to ever find our way out of this? Or is this just, Greg, are we just going to perpetually be, and this is not on you, but it's just, you're a great leader in the city. What can we do to sort of shift things around so that there is more fairness?
So it's a really important question, and something that cities are all trying to sort out. Every city is. How do you attract investment, right? So that these, neighborhoods that have been historically disinvested in, and you got a lot of blight and a lot of crime. How do you bring investment, meaningful investment to those neighborhoods, but do it in a way where those neighborhoods benefit, where people who live there are better off, where, because they got, better housing, they got a job that wasn't previously there. They had a business or have a business, and they were able to grow their business because of this new investment. So I've called this a balanced development approach, which is to say, look, let's strike a much better balance, because we want to continue to bring investments into neighborhoods, but it's got to be done in a way that lifts up local families, workers, and businesses. And in these neighborhoods, it's, that we're talking about, where we're seeing a lot of new investment and the big, and the kind of gentrification that leads to displacement. You're talking about Black and brown communities and Black and brown businesses. And so, the way to change it is to change the people who are making the decisions, making sure that you have a really very, super diverse group of people who are making decisions about who gets these incentives and how are these incentives done. So that is a big deal. Having the right people there who have real passion and commitment. The second is changing the incentives and making sure that they're going to lead to the kind of balance and opportunities for those living in neighborhoods where these investments are coming. That we're able to achieve that. So I worked on for a long time with a bunch of folks. This balanced development new scorecard that changes the incentive package, essentially saying, look, if you're going to get an incentive from the city of Cincinnati in order to invest in our city, and we want you to invest,
right?
We want to see. We're going to give you points and priority for housing that is affordable for everyone. Low-income folks, working families, everyone, that you're including you folks from the neighborhood in whatever jobs opportunities there are, that those are good jobs, that there are career training associated with the jobs, that the local businesses in those jobs are part of your investment. Don't bring a national chain when you have a local bakery or a local restaurant right there, and then having commitments around anti-displacement, because these developments can do, working with the city, a lot to subsidize rent, and to help with property valuations so that taxes don't skyrocket. There's a whole host of anti-displacement efforts that a developer can commit to. So we did pass that. Now we have to make sure it works. We have to make sure the incentives work. And honestly, the more incentives you're able to provide, the more you can require that there's affordability and that local folks are getting jobs and that there's real inclusion of local Black and brown businesses.
What percentage of businesses downtown are owned by Black and brown people?
I suspect downtown very little. I don't know the answer. I just, like you, you see what you see.
Yeah.
In OTR, which is really, for those, not from Cincinnati, it's sort of just north of downtown and a ton of new development. And it was, as I, looking at it when I got onto council, it just seemed like everything that was opening, and there was so much opening, new restaurants and bars and retail, all white owned.
Right.
And historically Black, well, it was white, then Black, and it's a neighborhood that's changed a lot. But we reached out to the primary property owners. In 2018, there were 3 big owners of property in OTR, and we said, look, what do you think about a commitment to Black and brown businesses where you say that 60% of all new leases are going to be for Black and brown businesses? And they said, absolutely. I mean, for them, it was like, well, that's a better economy for us, like a local economy, because we're bringing a bunch of white people to bars and restaurants and retail. Let's bring a more diverse group, and so, yeah, we want to see more diversity. So they made the commitment. That's step 1, right? Let's commit to a number, not just a idea, but we're going to commit to 60%. They've exceeded it. I mean, most of the new leases they're signing are almost all with Black and brown businesses in OTR, so much so that this year that there's going to be a map that you can get. Just go to the Black and brown businesses.
Right.
It's really cool.
Right.
So I have a follow-up question to that, Greg, and it's a selfish question. Yeah. So my business is in Over the Rhine, 13th and Sycamore. We are leasers as well. We do not own the building. We do not own the land and or the property. And so in short, my two-folded question is, 1, I am looking for property that my business can own.
Right.
And no longer be a renter or a leaser. And would love some direction, if not online, offline, of who can I talk to if it's not in the Cincinnati corporate core, right? It's the greater Cincinnati area.
Yeah.
Likewise, from a personal perspective, I'm looking for a residential property, land. And land is difficult to come by, right? You can go out into the suburbs and maybe able to grab a half an acre, maybe an acre. But I also know that in traveling through the city, I have seen homes that are built on property that's 300 or 400 yards off of the beaten path, where it was just wooded area, and then now there's a home or several homes. And so, any advice, any direction that you can give to me and maybe others on how to secure both commercial and maybe private property, i.e. land? So
private property is a little tougher for me because I just don't, I'm going to be guessing. Maybe it's informed, it's informed to some extent. On the commercial, so I'll come back to on the commercial piece, there's, the city has a Department of Economic Development and, engaging them, which I can help with. And then the port has the Port Authority in most counties now throughout, have some, land bank ability to sort of take a piece of property and sort of clean it up of all the back taxes and put it back on the market. And, as long as there's a real commitment to ensuring that there's equity in how those get put back on the market and who benefits. And part of that starts with engagement and, conversations and also something I can help with. And so talking to those two entities in leveraging the minority business programs that the chamber has and the Urban League has, to say, look, this is what I want, and I need your help to make this happen. So, I think there's opportunity on the commercial side, but this gets back to the diversity question and who's running the show, right? And so, when you look at the port and our Department of Economic Development, are you seeing, the kind of diversity on the board at the port and the staff that you need to see? And if not, those are things that we need to change, because ultimately that's how, decisions really start to evolve. But in the, and I think there is, a growing diversity in both shops, but we're not there yet. But I'm absolutely happy. Just shoot me an email and we'll get started. On the residential side, I mean, it's tough in the city. We don't have a whole lot of land, but it's still, I think, the same group of people to talk about what land the city owns, and wants to get rid of, and what land the port owns and wants to get rid of, and also something I can certainly help with. But I think the value of saying, look, we're gonna transition this idea of what we were doing in OTR. It's called OTR Represent, like get 60-70% of new leases to Black and brown businesses. That's great, right? The next big thing is, all right, give them equity, and and let them buy the building,
Right.
because that's ultimately where you'll see big change.
Right. Well, Greg, we certainly appreciate you joining us this morning, man. I want to tell you personally how proud I am of you and your leadership and the integrity that you do your job with. Tommie, Lewis, and I are both hoping that you will, in the near future, decide that you want to be the mayor of the city. And you'll come back and announce right here on Diversity Conversations with Tommie Lewis and myself. And we certainly will do whatever it takes, man, to help put you in that seat. Keep your nose out of all the craziness that's been.
I will. Head down, do the work. I just want to thank you both for everything. As Tommie, probably this won't surprise you, but Eric has been just an incredible mentor and somebody who has put me on the right path in so many ways. And I'm a big fan. So. Both of yours, but Eric, thanks for everything you've done over the years.
Yeah. We're gonna have you back for sure. So we just scratched the surface, didn't we, Tommie? I mean, we didn't give you 2 questions out, so we're gonna bring you back for a full 90-minute show, man, because we got a lot to talk about. Okay.
All right. Have a great day.
All right. That's awesome, Tommie. That was a great conversation, man. So glad to have Greg join us. We'll have him back so that we can continue this conversation and follow. I think you hit some tremendous points there, man. Owning property, owning businesses, man. That's where we want to be. So thank you for that. We've got next up the legendary in Cincinnati. People are waiting by popular demand. They're calling for Xavier University Hall of Famer, basketball star, and business HR chief HR human resource officer du jour, Ralph Lee. Good morning, Ralph Lee. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing great, buddy. How y'all doing, man?
Good, man. You look just like your boys, man.
Hey, I feel sorry for them, man. I feel sorry for them. I want them to look like their mama, not like me.
Man, how are you this morning?
I'm good, man. I'm really good. I'm at work. I thought I'd come in this Saturday. We've got people working this weekend and trying to hire drivers, man. That's right. That's a huge piece of our business, and it's a huge deficit out there in the world right now with drivers. You would be surprised what people are doing to get drivers. People are giving trucks away, giving drivers trucks, giving them $10,000 to come on board. But it's a shortage. It's just a shortage of them. And, now starting to forgive things that they wouldn't forgive in the past, like, pass failed drug tests over 5 or 6 years. They'll say, hey, we'll forget about that because they've been clean for 5 or 6 years. Right. In the past, they didn't get shot because it was such a hot topic. But average salaries are growing from, when I first got in this thing about maybe 6, 7 years ago, the average salary was somewhere in the 60s. Now you're talking $90,000 to $100,000 for a driver. The guy that's going to be home every night. It's going to drop some gas in the ground for us 3 or 4 times a day. It's going to
Right.
be home every night. I mean,
Okay.
great career.
Right.
So,
And Ralph, do the drivers have to have their CDL?
yeah, they do. They have to have their
Yep.
CDLs. And they have to have the biggest thing with me is you got to have 1 year experience, because you're
Okay.
driving my trucks around and you've got gasoline, you've got all different types of products, you got Coke products, Pepsi products, food products, you got all different types of products that you're driving around. But again, if you have that 1 year of experience of driving those big trucks like that, then you're gonna be okay. It's a lucrative deal right now for a driver, man. I got to tell you, it's unbelievable. I'm offering anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to sign on with me, just to sign on. And I have the largest fleet in the country when it comes to driver fleet. So it's unbelievable. And in a little small town called Canton, Ohio. So
Right.
it's unbelievable, man.
Right.
Yeah,
Hey,
I will send some talent your way, because I know a couple people have been in this space for about a year and a half. They have their CDLs. They've been traveling and conversing the country as a CDL certified driver. But I'll send some folks your way just to vet them and then see how it goes.
And our location is out in Monroe. It's right next to right down the street from Joe Morgan's spot.
Yeah.
So it's right down the street. That's where our location is in Cincinnati, and it's run by a former Xavier basketball player and former Cincinnati kid, JD Barnett. He's running that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So JD's running that location, always looking for good drivers. JD worked for Coca-Cola for years, and I worked on bringing him over to us to become the terminal manager. And he's a terminal manager up in Monroe. So that we're always looking for that. So once you give him to me, I'll get him to JD, and we'll get him interviewed.
And before we continue, real quick, Brooke, if we can put our guest Ralph Lee in the center, you can get me out of the middle. Right?
Hey,
Ralph Lee is the star.
I'm an assist man. I'll be on the back.
I think you had the record forever, man. Did somebody finally get you?
No, I'm still looking for 700, Eric. I got 699, still looking for 700, and I still own the record. So I'm waiting to see if anybody can catch me. So,
oh my goodness,
you know, these guys these days they don't pass it, Eric. They shoot it.
They're putting it up, man. They're putting it up.
I keep saying, keep shooting.
You know what? I'm gonna say this too, Ralph. You are still giving assists.
Yes.
And I think that's not just what you did on the court. That's what you do in life. I want to do a little commercial here. And then, Ralph, I want you to tell everybody a little bit more about your background in Cincinnati, man. For anybody that's not familiar with you, I want them to know who you are, how we've all been connected, man. But I'm just going to do a little commercial for Leadership Soul by Kendall Wright. I know you know Kendall.
Oh, man. That's family. That's family.
Yeah, this is his book, man. This is his book. I just got mine, Kindle. I got it, bro. I ordered 3 of them. I got them in the mail.
Well, I'm going to order a bunch of them too. I'm going to go ahead and order a bunch of them too, because I'm really responsible for leadership within our organization. So I'm going to order a bunch of them as well. So
Leadership so amazing. Here's what I want to say to all of you out there. Number one, Ralph, I'm glad I remembered this. Write your book, man. If you haven't written a book, I want you to commit right here. You and Tommy Lewis. Tommy, how you doing on yours? I want both of y'all to, because Ralph, you've got a tremendous story, man, that people want to read. Get you an editor to take the notes, man. All you got to do is talk. Just sit back and talk. But we need that from you, man, because you've got a story that people need to hear. And what I would say to those of you out there that are authors, here's what I'd say to authors. If you have a book, give away as many of them as you can. If you are a friend of an author, don't ask them for nothing, buy it.
Yeah, buy it. That's right. Don't ask for nothing. Buy it.
Right. But authors, give them away, because it's like a business card in many ways.
Yeah.
But Ralph, I'd love to have you just kind of talk about your history in this city, man. We miss you bad, man.
And I miss being there. But my history started back in '82. I was a high school senior in Baltimore and got recruited heavily for basketball. And I went to Xavier. I chose Xavier over a lot of different places. And the reason why I chose Xavier was because it was a small-time school on the brink of big-time basketball. And our head coach was from the East Coast, and we had a bunch of East Coast guys. And so I chose Xavier, got there, did what everybody else did, 4 years. Back then, that was a norm for us. 4 years of college, got my degree, got out. Really didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to play in the NBA, but that didn't present itself. So I started working at a company called Union Central Life.
Yeah.
In Forest Park.
Yeah.
I was a training manager. Started there, and I was coaching high school basketball, 9th grade basketball coach at Forest Park High School.
Okay.
Back when Alex Davis was just a sophomore.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
putting it down. And I did that for 1 year. Then Mount Healthy called, and they said, "Hey, listen, Jake Grunkmeyer, who was a great coach at that time, said,
Right.
Hey, Ralph, I'd like you to be my reserve coach." Tough decision to leave, but I left and became the reserve coach. Meanwhile, as I like to say, back at the ranch in Baltimore, where I was from, Coach Wade got the job in Maryland. And I had known Coach Wade all my life.
Right.
And Coach Wade called. He said, "Hey, listen, I want you to come and be my assistant in Maryland." And I'm 25 years old.
Right.
I've got the best job in America. I'm going to be a head assistant at some point. And I got my dream job, coaching my state school. So I leave Cincinnati along with my future wife, Janelle Lee. And at the time, we got engaged and we left and we moved to Maryland. Story goes, first year there, the head coach gets fired after the first year. I'm in Maryland. I work a year there in Maryland, come back, start working in Cincinnati, got back into coaching. My coaching carousel went from Milford to Taft, from Taft to University of Miami at Hamilton, where I was head coach. And then I became the head coach at Mount Healthy High School.
Okay.
And that was really when I started having kids, and I had to make a decision with my job. Was I going to be, because at that time I was rolling. I was with Xavier doing play-by-play and analyst. I was at the job and I was coaching, and they were like, "What do you want to do? You're going to have to make a decision, young man." So I made a decision, a family decision. I was not going to pursue the broadcasting, and I was going to hang on to the coaching as long as I can. But my wife was ready to go back to school and get her degree, and I was ready to shut it down and focus on my career, and I did that. And that's
now hold on just a second, because you're gonna run through the whole thing. We're gonna miss the sweetness. So you got to squeeze some of the sweetness out of them stories.
All right.
I remember watching you, and I tell you, you was one of the hottest brothers I had ever seen. I mean, you were just hot. You were making things happen, and so much of that was because of your passion, your character, and your knowledge.
Right.
And I was just watching that. We'd see each other playing ball, man. But I was admiring what you were doing, Ralph. And I think that you were ahead of your time, man. You were a Renaissance man. Right. A lot of people were seeing you, and in many ways, you were pioneering some things because the broader community had confidence in you.
Right.
There was something about your kindness, your integrity that people trusted, and you had been giving out a lot of assists.
Right. And I'm gonna go back to some of this, because during the time I was also doing Channel 9.
Yeah.
Barry Nelson and Scott Drought.
Right.
The best ever to do it. I mean,
right.
I don't have anybody else to tell you the best ever to do it is John Popovich. Period.
Right. Absolutely.
No questions asked. Like we like to say in church, amen. That's the best brother to ever do it.
Right. Right.
And he really brought us along. 20 years of doing that. On Channel 9 and late night, people asking me every day, you guys get along. We were great friends. But during that time, I'm going to stop my story, and I'm going to tell y'all a story about this group that I came together under Eric's leadership. It's emotional for me to tell this story, because the group came together right at the time I was doing some things, and I was at Comair. Eric was doing his thing. I can tell you the group was the who's who of black men in Cincinnati.
Right, right.
If you was in this group, community of friends, you were doing it. Now, here's the thing I will tell you, Tommy. There were things that was broken about us. We were all broken.
Yep.
I won't even name the names because the names are too good to be true. We were all broken.
Right.
And this brother here, Eric, brought us together. And I ain't say just me and Eric. I say we all were broken.
Yeah.
And it's emotional for me because it was the first time in my life. I'm 30-something years old. And my dad wasn't at home. I had a stepdad who was very good. But we grew up as men saying you got to be a man's man. You can't be, you can't show no emotion. You can't do none of that.
Right.
Let me tell you something, Tommy. And let me tell you something, America. We cried.
That's right.
Like I'm crying right now. Like you got tears in my eyes now. We laughed. We cried crocodile tears.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
We cried tears of joy. We uplifted each other. We knew that we were the only ones that knew each other. And this is what changed. It's the first time in my life I could tell another man I love him.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
With no remorse. None of that. You know,
No
back
hesitation.
in those days, people say you gay because you say that to another man. None of that.
Yeah.
It was so good, Tommy. Our wives would look at us and say, when you going to another meeting? Am I right, Eric?
Right.
When's your next meeting? Because you need a new battery charge. Because when you come out of there, Tommy, you were like, man, ain't nothing. I got people behind me. I got people on the side of me. I got people in front of me. I'm protected. And it all started and really comes on the concrete of the Lord, which most of us grew up on. We grew up being church members, moms and dads were church-going people. They put all these values, and it was so interesting. They put all the same values in all of us, and we all came together.
Right.
We did things like uplift each other. I, during that time, was working with a small company that ended up going out of business. Those guys behind me said, listen,
I never forget
nothing. We got to get you where they came together, got me together. We had another brother, didn't have a car. One meeting. Now,
Pass the hat.
Powerful this. One
meeting.
That was done. That was paid for. We had guys that were the only ones like me in the organization. We're the only ones. We all were the only ones. I mean, it was like you're on top, you're there. And what comes with that, and I'm talking real now, what comes with that is temptation.
Yes, sir.
Ignorance around money.
Yes, sir.
Ralph. Come on, Ralph.
All right. Family values.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Also, what comes with that is a huge responsibility because so much is given, so much is expected in return.
Yes.
And we didn't understand that.
Right.
We just knew we were taking care because we had what you call is a swag about us, but we also had a truth about us that no one knew about.
Right.
Some of us was broke.
Right.
Some of us didn't have the money that people thought we had.
Right. Take the mask off.
It took the mask. And let me tell you what's so great about these meetings. You come to the meeting, Eric pull out the agenda. Right? You pull out the agenda, you pull it all out, put it on the table. And let me tell you, we had about 30, 40, 50 meetings. The agenda never changed.
Right.
How's everybody?
Yeah.
How's everybody doing? Tell me a little bit about how you're doing. How can we help you today? The agenda never got past that.
Right.
And I mean, I'm telling you right now, never got past that.
Right.
And it was so interesting. We had brothers in there that were just high-powered brothers that nobody knew. Two of them from GE remind me of.
Ooh.
And Stokes and Ernest.
Right.
Ernest today is up here running the largest company in Cleveland.
Yep.
One of the largest companies in Cleveland. He's the HR. We had the same career path. Directors of HR, senior directors of HR, VP of HR, CHRO. Exact same career path. He's doing it there. I'm doing it here.
Right.
And Stokes, Ernest, we used to think Stokes was a good brother.
Stokes.
He was a good brother.
Right.
But he was quiet.
Right.
When he talked, everybody listened.
Right.
Let me tell you about Stokes. This is a great story. So Stokes, Ernest kept telling us, y'all think I'm the man. That is the man, right? He gonna run here one day.
Right.
He kept saying, "No, come on, man, Ernest. No, that is the man." Stokes was Stokes. Stokes talked to you, man. You good? So
Right.
they moved him up to where University of Gannon is up in
he next in line.
Up in Pennsylvania. So in that city where he is in Erie, Pennsylvania, he's like the man. He comes to town. They hold this big thing. All the black people come out to meet him because he's the first black guy to run GE in that town. And he comes out to meet him, and he's there. And it's a guy taking the pictures. He's in charge of taking the pictures. He's taking the pictures. He's doing what he needs to do. And the guy goes up to him and says, "Yeah, you came from Cincinnati." He said, "Yes, I did." He said, "Do you know? You got to know my cousin there. My cousin's in Cincinnati." He said, "What's your cousin's name?" And Ernest looked at him. He said, "What's your cousin's name?" He said, "My cousin's name is Ralph Lee."
Right.
He said, "You don't know Ralph Lee." Ernest dismissed him. "You don't know Ralph Lee, man. You don't know Ralph Lee like I know Ralph Lee."
Right.
He said, "No, my cousin's name is Mark Chase." He said, "Yes, that's my cousin, man." He said, "I can call him right now. he said, I would call him right now. And if you lying to me, he gonna tell me right on the phone. And
Right.
it was true. My cousin called me and he said, man, do you know? I said, that's my guy, Russell Smith.
Right.
That's my guy. Russell's my guy. He turned to my cousin and he says, because I'm your cousin's brother, I'm not just a friend, I'm his brother, I have to take care of you. Right. And I will take care of you. You are taken care of from here on out. What do you need? If you need anything, you come see me. And I'm not saying that. Here's my card. I'm not saying that. And my cousin's telling me the story. Like, he was like, and if you don't come see me, I'm going to track you down.
Right.
So, and he couldn't believe, he said, man, were y'all that close? I said, like brothers, man. He ain't lying to you, man. He said, I said, he know things about me.
Right.
That y'all don't know about me.
Right.
Because that group was so powerful. And
Ralph,
so,
yeah. Go ahead and finish it, but I'm gonna say we got to think about putting the band back together. I'm now convinced that we got a second go round that we have to do. We have
to do. And I can tell you, the people listening to this, if they ever knew who the band was, they would be like, you guys. And here's what would get you: we're out, we're at functions, and we hug each other, and we say, I love you, man. How you doing? And people are looking at us like,
right.
The wives, what are you telling him? You love him? I said, yeah, I do.
Right. Right.
I love him like my brother.
Right.
And then the wives understood that.
Yeah.
And the thing is that once I got through with that, I was able to grow. Right. And then I really understood how you really bring people who are your brothers that do things very well. Like when we went on strike at ComAir.
Right.
Remember, I brought you in to talk to everybody about how to survive that thing. And it was great. I mean, and people were telling me, well, I never heard this guy. I know you haven't. But if you just listen, and at the end of the day, it was a great thing to do. Because it was the first time in my life I wasn't afraid to do that. Because before, you were always afraid to do that because you were like, people of non-color look at you, are you doing your friend a favor? Well, they've been doing that for years.
Right.
They've been doing that for years.
Right.
Doing your friend a favor, bringing him in, paying him, making sure he's okay. Making sure he get paid. Because that's part of the problem too.
Oh man, you were so honorable there, but not only on the good side. You know, I'll never forget conversation that we had that I was right in the middle of my career, and to some extent feeling a little bit of the CEO oats. You know, where CEOs are always a little late to everything, and you pulled me to the side and you say, love the work that you're doing, man. But you need to just make sure that you're here on time.
Right.
And that was so powerful that we all looked out for each other in every sense of the word. Yeah. And I never got there late again after that. But I even want to go back to our very first meeting because we didn't know what this was going to be. I remember I had called a meeting, and the way I thought about this is that I said, all these people that are my friends, every time I would see y'all, I'd see you, Ralph. Hey, Ralph, we got to get together, man. Let's do it, E. We would say it, we would mean it, but we would never do it because life was too busy. Yep. So I said, I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to write these men a letter and send it to all of them and say, look, let's meet on this certain day. And so I remember calling the meeting on a certain day. And on that day, it was a snowstorm.
Yeah. Yeah.
In all of Cincinnati. And I said, there's no way these brothers are going to show up on some snowstorm. That was our very first meeting at Beckett Ridge Country
Culture Club. Yep. On a Saturday morning.
Right. And all of a sudden, I looked. Right. Everybody was there. Yeah. And I just knew that because of how busy everybody was, we had to think about this like as biannual, maybe quarterly.
Right.
But it was so powerful that every man agreed that we would meet every month.
Yeah.
And we did that for a decade.
Because I remember you threw that out like, hey, can we meet quarterly? And everybody was like, quarterly? No, we meet next month. I need this next month.
Right.
And everybody agreed that we would do that because of the leadership you had, but also because of the love that filled that room that day. Wow. We started about 9. I think we got thrown about 3 that day.
Yeah. It was always taking all day. You couldn't do nothing else. You couldn't do nothing else that day.
And then we did what most black folks did. We brought food involved. Remember that? They start, okay, when you have it at your place, you got to have the food. And GE came in with Miss Julia's. Remember that?
Right.
And all of us by 2 o'clock was,
Woo!
oh man, we can't. How we gonna go back to work, man? Y'all can't. So we had to pare that back down. Never, hey, you can't be eating all this heavy food. So I mean, it was so much fun. And the city of Cincinnati, I miss terribly, Eric. I miss it because it was just on the brink when I left in 2017.
Right.
I remember leaving, and the last time I drove out for the first time to come here, I thought to myself, I'll be back because I love this place so much.
Right.
And I said, I got too many roots here. I've done too many things here. I've built too many. But one of the things that hurt me the most about that city is that when I left, my son came through there, and trying to get him a job and calling on people who I thought, I've told you the story before, who I thought would help. They didn't help. Yeah. That hurt me because those were the same people that back in the early 90s and the early 2000s were the people that I gave the hand and lifted up and said, come on, let me get you here. Let me move you here. Wouldn't call me back. Wouldn't call my son back. That hurt a little bit.
Right.
But I knew what the Lord was doing, and I remember the back of my mind saying, hey, I'm showing you truth. And when it shows you truth, it hurts.
Right.
But doesn't mean you don't love them. You don't stop loving those people.
Right.
But it's truth. And there's a difference between truth and lies, no question.
Right.
There's a difference between knowing someone and knowing the truth about that person.
Right.
And that goes back to that group. I knew the truth about that person.
Right.
I asked that person for something and they said I couldn't do it.
Right.
It was the truth.
Right.
I asked that person for something and they said yes.
Right.
It was the truth.
Right.
If I couldn't do it, if I asked that person, how am I doing this right? Or what am I doing? They gave me the truth. If I asked this person, man, you did that too? Yeah.
Right.
It was the truth.
Right. But there was something else too, Ralph, that was so powerful about it, is that we were proving to ourselves our power to do things. We were trying out our power like it was a new machine.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll never forget the day you came and you said, it's a Friday. You said, guys, I lost my job on this Friday and I don't know what I'm going to do on Monday.
Yes, right. That's right.
And I said, Ralph, I tell you what, you're going to do some consulting with me. I said, but we're not going to rest.
That's what you said. Yep. We're not going to
rest. You have several job offers. And I think you ended up with 6 or 7 job offers, all making between $25,000 and $50,000 more than what you had made. And we proved to ourselves that we could do anything.
Yep. And I remember that because I said it'll be the first time in my life I don't know what to do on Monday.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do on Monday.
Right.
Friday, lose my job. I don't know what to do on Monday.
Right.
I don't know what I'm going to do on Monday.
Right.
But I do know this. That group came together and I never stopped living the way I was living and doing the things I was doing. And I never stopped giving. The one thing I will tell anybody listening to this thing, I never stopped giving my tithes. I never stopped giving my tithes.
Come on now.
And let me tell you why.
Right.
It wasn't because I was thinking I got to give my tithes to get something for that.
Right.
No. It was, this is what I do. Right. This is where my faith is. This is where I have faith in. And this is who I need to continue to have faith in.
Right.
Because if I decide to take something from you because of that, then I'm doing a disservice to everything I believe in. And I tell my sons those stories today. Like when I lost that job, you didn't stop playing. You didn't stop eating.
Right.
I didn't complain to y'all.
Right.
Y'all didn't put yourself in that position.
Right.
So don't complain. I didn't complain to y'all.
Right.
I didn't say, well, what am I going to do?
That's right.
I picked my pants up, got on there, and ended up with like 5 job offers, whittled it down to 3. All of them was making more than what I was making at that company.
Right.
And they were, and the jobs I knew I would take would also elevate the people around me. And that's my whole thing I've always had in my life, is try to elevate people around me and make sure they're okay. Because if you're doing that, taking care of the people around you, you're gonna be fine. I remember about 2 years ago, we were in Louisville. I just was in Louisville the other day, and it reminded me of you when I went by the hotel. I said, last time I was here, I came down to do a little speech. I was a speaker, but my man was the main speaker. I walk up in there and his picture posted all over the place. I'm going, whoa, whoa, whoa. They say, he's on now. There ain't nobody in the hallway. That people gotta understand. I'm at a SHRM conference. Normally people hanging out in the hallways, people doing stuff.
Right.
Nobody in the hallways. All 3,000-4,000 are inside this room. I walk in and there's my man on the stage. And he look over and he see me. He's like, whoa, what the heck? And I just smiled and sit down, listen to the thing. We had lunch together that day. I was telling my wife, so I said we had lunch together that day. It was a great thing. And then I went on that afternoon.
Right.
I said, I went on. I said, now my stage ain't big as Eric's. I said, but that didn't matter. I went on that afternoon and sat down and had my thing. And it was fun because I really left that day after my speech. I left and I said to myself, wow, how far have we come? We're national. We're national. Even though we're national.
Right. Let me bring people up to speed on this, Ralph. I'm gonna talk to the audience for just a minute. So you hear Ralph Lee, Chief HR Officer, Keenan Advantage Group, and yet the thing that he's excited about is the relationships that we were able to build. And here's what I want to say to any of you that are listening to my voice right now. What we did is we proved to one another that people can care for each other, that they can look out for each other. We had 3 basic questions. And so I'm saying to you, invest in others.
Yes.
The group that we had was, for the first time in my life, it was richer almost than any church that I've ever been at. Because in many ways in the church, I'm talking to some churches right now, if we're not careful, we'll put on masks even in there. And in the place that you can go and get forgiveness and find healing, sometimes you're still wearing a mask. We were able to bring together our private and public selves into the same environment. And the 3 questions we would ask is question number 1, what's happening good in your life that we can celebrate? Because what we discovered is that oftentimes when you are a leader, you're lonely, you feel by yourself. And when things happen, you have to kind of keep it quiet. I never forget when I was building my house, I couldn't even tell anybody at the church because it was like they would think you're bragging on yourself. So here you are going through the biggest thing that you've ever done in your life, and you got to go through it quietly. And so what we decided as a group was, if something good happens to you, don't let us find it out from somebody else. If you get a new car, call me up with the express purpose of saying, E, I got a new Corvette. I'm going to say, boy, bring that by here. And I'm just going to cheer for you. And so we were happy for each other. The second question was, where do you have needs that we can help? And it was the first time in all of our lives that we felt like we had that safety net, that here you are, almost every person in there was the kind of person that always had been helping others. And that's their whole story, is they're the helper. They're the person that other people are leaning on, depending on. They're sponsoring this, paying for that. But people didn't realize that you have needs as well. And we could come in there and we could take off the mask, and sometimes the need might be financial, but most of the time the need was emotional. Yes. We had men that would share that I don't know what to do. I've got my wife and I've got this woman on the side and I'm just struggling with what to do. And we would be the counsel for them. Or another man would come in and say, look, tell me why I shouldn't kill this guy who's beating up my daughter. And we would have those kind of conversations. It was mostly black men, but I remembered I invited a couple of white executives, and when they came, they left in tears.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing that was consistent over each of our sessions, is that somebody was crying because they felt supported. And then the third question was, where do you have influence that you can influence others. And I'm telling you, America, the world right now, that's what we need coming out of this pandemic. That's what we need as we look at COVID-19 and the two pandemics that we just came through. We're right now, it feels like we're in the midst of ideological civil war. One of the answers is develop yourself a community of diverse friends that you can work with. Ralph, we're not done yet, man.
Okay. We got a long way to go. Let me tell you something about Kent. There's a guy here, Jerry Schroer, and I've been here and I've done some things here, and he got me together. He called me, he said, hey, listen, white guy, owns a lot of different things, well off. He says, Ralph, I don't like the way this thing's playing out.
Okay.
This community will not be any good unless the African-American community grows and becomes better. I want to start a group, and I need your help.
Okay.
I said, okay. I said, I've been there, done that.
Right,
He
right.
said,
I got a model for that.
I got a model for that. He said, let's talk about it. So we put this group together. It's called Moving the Community Forward. The top Black, white leaders in Canton. Some of them have been on the sidelines for years. Years. I'll give you an example. Bob Belden, building bricks. When you look at all those hotels that are built up in Westchester behind where all those hotels, that's built with Belden bricks.
Wow.
Okay. Sidelines for years. Steps up sidelines. Brings
right.
And man, we have the Black college football game happening in August, the weekend of September, the weekend of Labor Day. It's happening on the 6th. On the 5th. And they call it the Black College Football Hall of Fame game here. It'll be Tennessee State with new head coach Eddie George versus Grambling.
Okay.
And the proceeds from this game are going to build a wing on the Pro Football Hall of Fame for them to build this wing that will have Black College Hall of Fame. So this is what the proceeds go to. So we're having a meeting. And Jerry Schroer says to everybody, we're talking about the game. We're really going in. We had it 2 years ago. We had a lot of, and he says, Ralph, I got to ask a question. And this is what I love about this community. He said, I got to ask a question. The game says Black college football. What do I get out of that? Because in the past, and then another white gentleman, Todd Pugh, who owns Enviroscapes, biggest landscape company. He goes, yeah, Ralph, because it said Black college football. And I said to myself, let me take my things and go on. Because, Ralph, if I told you I was having a honky-tonk game down there, what would you say? I said, enjoy yourself, have a good time, not my cup of tea. I'm going over here.
Right.
Said, well, that's how the whites in the community feel when you say Black college football. And I said, wow.
Right.
He said, we got to become more inclusive in this game. He said, I said, no, we're not saying Black college football to exclude you. We're saying that because that's what it was.
Right.
And then I thought about that. And I said, as you go around the country, they don't call it the Black college football game. They call it the Circle City Classic.
That's right.
They call it the River City Classic.
Right.
They don't call it the. So I'm looking at this. The thing I love about this community, they will have the conversation with you.
That's good, man. That's good. And you're the right guy to be having it with.
Yeah, and that's why I said, Eric, when I called you a couple of weeks ago, we need you. Because what I said to you, I truly mean, and they are working their butts off to get you here because they want you here. And
good.
I want you here because
and you can get me there for whatever. So whenever you say, I'm there. Yeah.
But you got to pay your value and your worth.
That's
I got to pay your value and worth. I'm not doing that. And they know that. That's what I told myself.
Right.
And Mel Gravely came up and spoke, and he spoke about this and everything. Did a great job. Job. And they asked me, and I love Mel, and I love me some Eric Ellis. But I told them this morning, they were talking to me this morning, I said, listen, we want to give me, I said, y'all, and the lady was like, I heard Mel Gravely. I said, you ain't heard my man yet, though. When he come up in here, it's over. I said, it's over. She said, how you get so excited about that? I said, because when he come up in here, from the time he step on that stage, the time he get off that stage, he got you. I said, he's going to have you.
I appreciate that.
She said, I can't wait. I said, y'all got to do what y'all got to do. I said, I told him, I said, and I want to introduce you to the guy at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Adrian, who Adrian's running it. He's also their legal and in charge of HR, great guy. But I think they need you from the professional football perspective. I think you have a lot to offer them from a perspective of what they do and how they do it. And once you hit them one time, it's going to be fine. I love this community. This community is great. Eric, it's 10 minutes to anything. I love it. 10 minutes.
Right.
It's like living in Westchester with the Pro Football Hall of Fame in downtown Westchester. I mean,
I love it. I love it.
Anything? And
Ralph, I'm gonna tell you this. First of all, I miss you bad and love you greatly, man. And the thing that we have so wonderfully in common is the kindred spirits. We love God, we love our family, and we love our purpose. Right. You know, I know why God put me on earth. Right. God put me on earth to reconcile people one to another and to ultimately reconcile them with God.
That's right.
And I'll tell you, the fact that I get a chance to do that with you and to really feel that brother, you know, because I just lost my oldest brother last year.
Right.
You know, he died on June the 17th, the same day that my father died 38 years ago. But I know that we all were like family, and we can't let that slip away. We know that every time we see each other, we return to where we were. But that is not to be taken for granted, man. We're living in a world where people feel very lonely and isolated.
Right.
And when you have the kind of thing that we have, every time I see you and that big smile comes on your face, it just lights up a room and it lights up my heart, because I know that there's somebody in this space who loves me, has my back, and I've got your back. And most of us, that was still foreign, that you can be a leader and at times still be lonely.
Hey, Eric, what about the, you know, it's interesting because the best time is when we all get together for Claudia's thing.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
You know, her thing of the Men of Honor, right?
Right.
And we look around the room and you look up on the thing and you.
That's my boys.
That's my boys.
Right.
And
right.
It's like you said, when we see each other, I can't tell you the joy inside of me, not only outside, inside of me,
right,
of seeing a brother of mine that I spent so many times and knowing, and just the first thing I want to say to them is, "Are you all right? You doing all right?"
That's right. And mean that, and mean that, and mean that, and mean that.
Give me that crazy answer. I'm doing okay. No, because you know what I mean.
People will look right through that.
Right. You know what I mean. How you doing? And it's interesting because when you see one of them brothers, they look you in the eye and they tell you, "I'm good, baby. I'm good."
Right.
Or they say to you,
they
say to you, "Struggling a little bit. Well, what can I do?" Because that's the first reaction. What can I do?
Right.
And a lot of times they're like, "No, it's not nothing you can do. I'm good. I'm going to get it. Or hey, I need your little help here. Oh, you got it. Call me. Do what you got to do." Because we were trained in a fashion that we had never been trained before with that group about when I say I need it, I need it.
Right.
I don't say this to you because it takes a man to say I need help.
Right. And none of us really learned how to do that. See, people are used to, in the world, people always begging somebody for something.
Right.
But with this group, we were all independent acts. We came with our shovel and we dig our own hole.
That's right. That's right.
But what God showed me in my own life is, I remember, Ralph, that during that time, I felt like I was on the cusp of coming out of a season of no.
Right.
Every door I knocked on.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
No. And you know, there's so many no's. I was like, God, am I in the wrong business? And literally, God changed the season. And it felt like it was a light switch, because every door I knocked on, then it was yes. I got so many yeses. I was like, God, for real? What? For real? You just gonna hit a light switch like that? You could have hit that a long time ago. I needed that. And God said, no, that wasn't no season of no. He said, that was the season I gave you to write your book.
That's right.
He said, that's the season I gave you to work on your business materials and things like that. That was the season I gave you to work on you. He said, and did not provide you with manna. And so what we found was that that we were open to that. We didn't have to be because a lot of times as people of color, you feel like if people think I'm struggling, then I won't get any help.
You won't get anything.
Even in the midst of struggle, I gotta always well, everything's good. You know, I still got to do that. When you're way down if you're doing that all day long. And we would see men literally come through the door and just, it was like the shackles and the weight of the world got off of their shoulders because they knew they were in a place that when somebody asked you, the other thing, Ralph, we were not afraid of people's needs, were we?
No, and that's the other thing people got to understand.
Okay.
Your needs never outweighed your wants.
Right.
But your needs is what we address, not your wants, your needs, which led you to get what you wanted.
Right.
See, people get that backwards. This is what I want. No. What do you need?
Right.
And then your needs that are provided will take you to what you want. And they don't get that. And that's we were never afraid of what your needs are.
Right.
Because when we gave you your needs, you got what you wanted. And
the other thing is that, go ahead, finish your thought, man. Finish your thought.
But this is the thing about it. The preparation for success comes in so many forms and fashion.
Okay.
What you just touched on, the preparation for success. And
Right.
we're always chasing success.
Come on now. Come on.
Don't do the preparation work.
Right.
Until he does this. Sit your butt down. Take a breath. I'm in control. I know you thought you had a plan.
Right.
You don't have a plan. I got a plan.
Right.
Until you understand my plan, then you will be, once you get on
something.
my plan, now I'm going to move you forward.
Right.
People don't understand that plan is so relevant when it comes to things that you do, that you look back. Like you said, I looked back and I went, I wrote a book.
Right.
Yeah, but I also provided for you while you wrote that book.
Right. You couldn't have done that if you didn't have that space. If you didn't have that space at time, you never would have slowed down to do it.
And the book has ramifications for years.
Absolutely. It was like the first time I got a Lexus. I didn't know how people was responding to folks in Lexus till I owned one. Right. Then all of a sudden everybody was calling me sir. It was the same way with a book. And that's why I'm telling you, Ralph, you got to do this, man. I'm going to worry you a little bit on this because that's what's in you. Your story is a powerful story. Yeah. I give away my books, man, like the business cards. And I'll never forget. What's that?
You're supposed to. That's what
because God gave it to me, so I'm giving it to
I gave it to the person who runs my L&D department.
Right.
Read it. She comes back and goes, "Whoa, I love this guy." I said, "You'll meet him one day." I said, I said, "Let's talk about the book. Let's talk about the book." And we had, Eric, I shut my door. We have 2-hour conversations about the book. Her thoughts, her disagreements, her agreements. Where you come out of this. And for me to speak on it, she's like, wow, well, you must pretty well know. I see, I do know him a lot. I said, now I can't justify all the things that he's saying here. I can't do, because I don't know him that well inside his brain, but I can tell you, I know his thought process. And when you meet him, you have an opportunity to just talk about it. And she was just so blown away about the book, but it was an opportunity for me. Your business card was that book to her. Because a business card given to someone without any information is just a business. A business card given with information is a entitled situation for you to now have a conversation.
Another lesson. Let me give another lesson now here. I like to expand on these kernels of great wisdom pearls of wisdom that you're throwing out. But I want to say to people this, that the ways that we operated were like this, that I see people, when people achieve something, too often, Ralph, they try to make themselves look bigger. And they sort of tell you, oh, I got my master's degree and it was hell, oh my goodness. Or I wrote a book, you certainly won't be able to do that. Anything that God has ever allowed me to do, then I take it upon myself to tell others, you can do this. It wasn't that hard. Because, when I got my master's degree, I was like, man, that was easier than undergrad.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the things. And I've encouraged 10 people to write books because I thought it was so hard, Ralph. And then I did it. And I did it because I'm ADHD. I had the gift of ADHD. So a lot of it, I did it through dictation. and I just spoke it out. I charted it on and had my assistant sort of take notes as I was speaking the book. But I'm so grateful. And that's why when I know people, because I think our richest place is our story.
That's right.
And the story of your life, of the life of Ralph Lee, I've read it. But a lot of people that don't know you, they need to be able to read your story, man, because you are combustible. I mean, you're the passion and the energy that you have feels like it could just, light up, an entire state or a city, man. And so that is something that people need to hear. And we need to know that people are willing to sharpen one another. Right now, I feel my heart goes out so badly for our country right now where we are, Ralph. And I'm grateful that you all are bringing together a group that can talk across those differences, because building relationships is the main thing. And that's what we did. And right now, you know it. Companies aren't making enough time for relationships. Communities are not making enough time for relationships. Schools are not. How are we ever going to get through all this crap if we don't make some time?
Relationships build great organizations. Relationships build great towns. Relationships build great countries. If you don't understand that, then you never will. When me and you have ADHD,
right?
Both
That's
of
a
us
gift,
have that.
right?
And I didn't know I had it until I was 35.
Yeah, same here.
Same here.
Same here.
Nobody told me about medicine. Nobody gave me medicine.
Right.
But I think what the Lord has done with people like me and you has given us the ability. Now you're gonna love this one. Has given us the ability to forget the negative.
Absolutely. Come on now. Come on now.
Get
Say that again. Say it again.
Quickly.
Right.
And people don't understand how we don't go back and hold something against somebody. I can't believe the way they treat you, blah, blah, blah. Why can you? No, I'm ADHD. That happened 10 minutes ago. I don't remember what happened 10 minutes ago. I'm on to the next thing, man. I ain't got time to deal with that.
Right.
The Lord has blessed us with the ability to forget and forgive quickly and move on. Most people don't understand that with ADHD people and ADHD kids.
Right.
Even though you mad at them, in 10 minutes later, guess what they doing? They loving on you.
Right.
Because they didn't forget about, that's gone. So when I look at my ADHD, it's actually a good thing that he has given me, that I've heard so many people say it's a negative thing, and I'm going,
it's your superpower.
It's a good thing for me.
It's your superpower.
It's my superpower, because I can now forgive you as quickly and forget about it as quick as it happened.
Right.
And Eric, people don't understand that about ADHD people. They think because you scatterbrains, you're over here, you're over here.
Right.
You and I. You want to talk. Hey, let me tell you what's about most of us. On that disc theory, we could be dominant.
Right.
We could be the I.
Right.
We could be the S, and we could be the C.
Right.
We go between all that.
Mm-hmm.
But people want to peg us in the I.
Right.
But if they don't understand, if I got ADHD and I'm an I can go all over the place. Because one moment I'm being a head coach. I'm being dominant. I'm running my team. Next minute, I'm talking to a parent, which I got to sell on my program, and I'm an I. Right. The C part of me is I am sitting there trying to figure out these numbers and how these numbers are going to work. And we're very good at that. People don't understand why you're good at numbers. See?
Right.
When they say, what's 10% of 70? Oh, it's 7%. They don't understand it. They like 10% of 77? Yeah, that's it, 7. How you know it? Because I've programmed myself, because of ADHD, to understand that.
Right.
I'm also a very smart person, which they tell you in school. They're very intelligent.
Right. And that comes with it. And a lot of kids don't know that, because they're running off of they don't know that they actually have a higher level of intelligence. And one of the things that I love to do, Ralph, is when people say they want to brainstorm like innovative ideas. Yes. It's like you say brainstorm, everything in me says yes. I love doing that.
I got everything in my mind. I'm throwing them out. And then they look at you like, how do you think of that? Because it's been in there. It's in there. It's in me. And the thing about it, when you have this thing What we don't talk a lot about, Eric, with ADHD kids is their IQ level.
Yeah.
My IQ level was above average.
Right. Right.
That's what they talked about back in the 80s and the 70s. It was, what's your IQ level?
Right.
Have you heard people talk about an ADHD kid's IQ level? Because if they talk about his IQ level or her IQ level, then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute. But they don't talk about the IQ level.
No, they don't.
And let's start talking about get them IQ tested. Let me tell you what the IQ level. Because if the IQ level is above, I'm not talking about the ADHD no more.
Right.
We'll deal with that. I'm talking about you have a mind that is a mind that's above average. And that's what most of them tell you about ADHD kids. Their mind is above, they get bored.
Right.
Why they get bored? Because they're highly intelligent. They've gone past what you're teaching. I'll tell you a story about myself. In the third, hold
it. Right before you get to the story, hold it, pause it, don't lose it. Don't lose it. I want to say this to people too, that part of the reason why it's so important that Ralph and I have discovered some insights about the positive aspect of ADHD is because a lot of life is discouraging. Yep. A lot of life, you get negative messages that say you're not as intelligent or you're just an athlete, you know, and so you've grown up. And when I was in the third grade, you know, the SRA stuff, I was always behind because I was looking around all the time trying to. And so that's why it's important for us to give context to why we're excited about what we know now, is because the life that we've lived didn't always reinforce that you were bright. Go ahead, Ralph.
Third grade. Young lady by the name of Donna Patterson. Guy by the name of Ralph Lee, fourth grade. Back then in Baltimore City Public Schools, if you were going to get skipped, you had to go to a psychologist at Johns Hopkins Hospital and you had to talk to him. I'm going to a psychologist in the fourth grade. I'm saying to myself, what's going on? Am I crazy?
Right.
Meanwhile, one day I'm coming out, girl in my class named Donna Patterson, who I thought was the smartest girl in the class, hands down, is going in.
Right.
I said, that's interesting, Donna. I said, hey, Donna, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, hey, Ralph, crossing paths. Moms tells me at the end of the sessions, the reason why we're doing this is because they think your IQ is too high to be in the fourth grade. They think you should be skipped to the sixth grade.
Okay.
And in the city of Baltimore, she tells me the whole story. You have to go through a psychological evaluation to see if you can handle the sixth grade as a, you know, in the sixth grade, you want to be 11. As a 9 going on 10-year-old, can you do that? So they have to evaluate you. And they were doing the same thing with Donna. Skip headed forward. Donna Patterson, they skipped to the sixth grade. Now, physically, she was more than ready to go to the sixth grade.
Right.
Mentally and academically, yes. They said, yes, you can go. Me, they said, you can do it. It's up to your parent. My mom said, no. We'll just put them in the fifth grade. And go
Right.
Fast forward about 6 years later, in the 12th grade, I'm graduating. Donna Patterson is walking the streets, molested, no good, no more. And that was one of the biggest lessons in my life.
Right.
I couldn't thank my mother enough.
Right. Didn't put you in that situation that you couldn't handle.
She got in there because the mom was poking her chest out. My daughter skipped. And they took advantage of it. Beautiful young girl, took advantage of. Walking the streets, end up ODing when I went to college. I say that to say this to people who are listening. Stop poking your chest out about your kids.
That's
good. Know your kids.
Right. That's good, Ralph.
Know who they are.
Right.
Know what they can and can't do. Fast forward 13 more years later, I'm sitting in a Waffle House with my son in the 7th grade, and he has ADHD. And we're having a conversation, and my conversation is different than the conversation I had with my mom. My conversation with him was, Kyle, you're in the 8th grade. You're not ready to go to high school. You can't find stuff in your locker. You're crying because you can't find stuff. You're not ready.
Yep.
I think from a sports perspective, it's going to be better. From a life perspective, it gives you another year. And my thing I want to tell every parent out there is my favorite line. There is no reason to grow you up quickly. Because the only thing waiting on you when you get out of school and get out of college is a guy by the name they call Bill.
Right.
And he don't have no prejudices.
Bills and work.
And he gonna be there. He gonna be there for the rest of your life.
That's right, Ralph.
So
That's
there's
right.
no reason to go rush to meet Bill.
Right.
I don't need you to rush to meet Bill. I need you to take the time. I need you to be prepared. I need you to do things. And I held him back.
Right.
It was the best thing I ever could have done for my son. Know your kids.
Right.
Know your situation.
Right.
That situation, I tell you that because here's a kid in the 4th grade, getting ready to skip to the 6th grade, doesn't do it. Here's a kid going from the 8th grade to the 9th grade. Parents,
right?
You want to poke your chest out and say this and that, know your kids. There is no hurry to grow these kids up. To meet my man Bill, who comes every week, and he has no prejudices.
Right.
I know you hate they living on you, this, that, and the other, but you wouldn't hate if they lived on the streets because they're not prepared.
That's a good word.
Know your kids, know who they are. Eric's done a tremendous job with his kids. And also give your kids the ability to go out and make some mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys helicoptering. Y'all don't understand the helicoptering is now causing more damage in the long-term effect than it is just letting them go out and make some mistakes. They're going to make mistakes.
Right.
It's going to hurt you.
Right.
It's going to hurt you. And you're going to know when your kid tells you, I didn't do that. He did it.
Right.
He did it. He did it. I'm going to support him. I'm going to do as much as I can. But every day when we get through this, I'm going to grab him and say, you did that.
Right.
I don't care what you tell the world or what you tell the public.
Right.
I know my son.
Right.
He did that. And I'm going to support you, but I'm going to tell you, I know the truth. And
I love what you're saying right now, Ralph. It's so important because if we're not careful, we live our lives for the public and not for what's real and right. And what you're saying is don't get it twisted. Don't allow anybody to or any sense inside of yourself make you make a decision that's not in the best interest of your children. Right. I tell people that for much of their life, they're riding on your boat. And then finally, when they get 18, you got to ride on their boat, whatever it is, raggedy canoe, whatever it is, you got to get on that.
Yep.
And I am seeing the fruits of some of the decisions that my children have made. Right. Jillian, because of the pandemic. So Jillian went to college, dropped out. Then she was working at the mall. Nothing wrong with the mall. But she said, you know what? I wasn't really raised to just be in the mall for the rest of my life. That ain't what it's like the prodigal son. You know what? I didn't live like this. My daddy, I'm going to go home. Yes. And so she went back to school, got her bachelor's from UC. And because of the pandemic, just kept on moving and got her MBA. And so now she's got this beautiful job with Clorox. But my boys are all working their way through college, kind of at their own pace, and all working on music. And you know what I say? Good for you.
Yeah.
I got you.
Because here's the thing.
I got you.
Nobody said we had to do this in 12 years of high school, 4 years of college, 2 years to get you. Nobody said that.
That's it.
That's you as a parent wanting that as a goal. If they don't tell you that's their goal, don't try to make it their goal.
Don't try to make it their goal.
I'm going to say it again. If they don't tell you that's their goal, don't try to make it their goal. Just ride with them. It's like Eric said, ride in the boat with them. Talk to them. Right. Let them make a mistake here and there. It's okay. Just so long as you got your hand underneath that mistake, that they don't fall all the way through, you understand what they're doing. Because let me tell you something about kids. They know. You don't know. They know. And we keep saying to ourselves, I know. We all know you know, but they know. They know.
It's hilarious. Yeah, my middle son feel like the whole world started when he was born.
Yeah, exactly.
But the world just got started when I got here. And you know what I say? I agree.
yeah, because you don't you think
good luck
you doing, nobody else did. Nobody else did. You know, I always tell my son when he starts talking like that, oh yeah, that's right. You're the smartest guy in the room. I forgot about the smartest guy in the room. I gotta listen to you now. Go ahead, let me listen to you. Because you're the smartest guy in the room.
Right.
And he starts pontificating and he gets himself in trouble.
Uh-huh.
And I don't correct him. I just say, okay, you smartest guy in the room. You'll figure that out.
Right. And life has to be a teacher with some of our children. And the thing is, so Eric, who dropped out of Miami at 19 to go to LA, is now on the cusp of what he went out there for, Ralph. Good. He's right now, and you were hearing it probably when you were just coming in, he's got a significant deal with the guy, promoter, engineer that did Thriller and Bad, has worked with Celine Dion and all those kind of folks, man. And they have taken a liking to the whole of who he is.
That's right.
Not just your gift.
Right.
Everything that you and Janelle, Judy, and I, everything we poured into him. I tell parents that all the time. Whatever you poured into him, it's in there.
It's coming out. It's going to come out.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
It may not come out until they're 50 years old.
Yeah.
It's going to come out.
It's coming out.
Right. I got to tell you, this is good for the soul, for me, to be able to have this conversation. It's good for the soul.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
And why it's good for the soul is because when I'm here in Canton and I'm talking to different people, they don't know me.
Right.
A lot of them don't know me.
Right.
But what they are finding out is that I'm passionate about things, like you said. If it's the right thing, I'm really passionate about it.
Right.
If it's the wrong thing, I'm really passionate about getting it changed.
That's right.
If it's about my makeup, real quickly, kid from Baltimore, Maryland, 18 years, Cincinnati, 30 years, Canton, 4 years. This has been such a wonderful ride. Now that I think about it, I got to sit down and talk to my wife for how I do this book, because it's been a wonderful ride from coaching to teaching.
Good.
I got to figure out how to do it, because it's been a wonderful ride that I can share. Funny stories, great stories. I mean,
exactly. I mean, you are a walking book anyway. So here's how I did. I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell, and then we're going to wrap up. But obviously, this is the first of many conversations. We're going to bring you back. What I did, Ralph, is I drew a circle, and I drew the title, the main title of the book that I wanted to write. And then I drew 7 lines off of that, because 7 is a perfect number in the Bible. And I wanted to write a book that was short enough that people could read it. And I put the main theme of those chapters, and then I shot 3 things off of each chapter. So I'm just saying that you put together a formula. Here's what I did, Ralph. When I started doing that, as soon as I got started, then work on it every day.
Yeah.
Set aside some time to do it every day, and then get you a little software thing, and I'll help you with it. We'll share with you everything that we've done. Because as soon as you put it into a little template and you can see it start looking like a book, guess what? Everything in ADHD will say, we're going to finish it, because we can hyper focus on things. And I want to look for the day when Ralph Lee is at the bottom of the book that you wrote, because everybody needs to read that, my brother. And I'm so glad that you picked up on that I'm pushing, because it is a blessing who you are. And I want to be able to read that book in a year. So within a year, that's the target, my brother.
That's right. That's good. That's good. And I'm in so many books. That's the crazy thing. Stories about me and my family are in books, and it's people read those stories and like, man, you guys are, from your mom to your dad to your brothers. It's so much about our family.
Right.
Then about me in college and this, that, and the other. And then there's a whole world that people haven't heard about, my journey through becoming a chief human resource officer, from being a lowly manager in HR to moving all the way up.
Woo!
And through that journey, and I'm going to close with this, through that journey, I've had the big house. I've had the big cars. I've had the fake friends. I've had the good friends. I've had the ability to get what I need to do. I've traveled the world. I've seen things. And to share that with you guys is going to be one of those things I'm going to love to do, because that's me. I'm a giver. I'm an assist guy. I have 699, and I have a friend up here that's always saying, and you're always looking for 700, buddy. I'm going to give you 700 someday. So that's me in a nutshell. I enjoyed it, Eric. I love your podcast.
I love you, man.
I'll be quietly coming in here, in and out, just not saying a word, just listening, because I love it. And hopefully we gave some people some nuggets today. And when they go out this afternoon, they think about it. I just want you on the ride to think about the things we talked about. Because if you could think about them just for a second, that means we hit your heart. And that's all we really wanted to do was hit your heart. Because we can talk for hours. You guys don't understand that. We can sit down, grab some meals, talk, and by the time we're done, we're exhausted, but then we go with our families. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed that because we didn't have a topic. We just knew we were going to talk.
That's right. That's right. Ralph, I love you. Ralph, how can people get in touch with you, man? Because sometimes some in my audience like to get in touch with these great guests we have.
I have my email address is rlee15xu@gmail.com. Is that easy? ralphlee15xu@gmail.com. Just write me. I'll write you back. I'll give you information. But if you want to get a hold of me and talk to me, and tell my boy Tommy, send me them drivers, man. I need them drivers, man.
Absolutely. And Kendall Wright, we'll have you back with Ralph. We'll have you guys on together. Love you, man. I'll be following up. Okay.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later.
Take care. Bye now. We're signing off.